What kind of country is Japan? What kind of people are the Japanese? What is Japanese culture like? What has shaped Japanese culture and the Japanese people is Japan itself, the environment surrounding Japan, and the people who have been involved with it. This content is not very useful for visiting Japan. Also, since it is long, please watch it when you are free if you are interested. What I am often told by people from overseas is something like the following. The public safety is good. There is no trash on the road. Japanese is difficult. Not bumping into people when passing by. All Japanese people are kind. Read the atmosphere. Has a good ear. Everything tastes good no matter where you eat it. Customer service is polite at every store. The quality of craftsmanship is good. The train schedule is punctual. A child acts alone. Even the children line up in formation. I think that by watching this video, most of these questions can be resolved. Interpersonal relationships. The Japanese have been living a settled life for quite a long time and have evolved their symbiotic society into a better form. I continue to pursue how to survive and pass on my descendants while using limited resources in the isolated environment of an island nation. I think the starting point of communal living was to increase hunting efficiency, but beyond that, the main purpose becomes division of labor. It becomes very troublesome when the person you were sharing work with disappears or gets angry and stops doing their assigned tasks. Build a good relationship to prevent that from happening. It is an extremely obvious conclusion. Because this has continued unchanged from the Stone Age for tens of thousands of years, it has become quite advanced. This is a culture that is the complete opposite of a competitive society. But because Japan did not allow invasion, its goals did not waver. This is the key point. This is a culture that is the exact opposite of a competitive society. And even a single invasion can cause significant distortion in many parts. Since Japan has never allowed an invasion in the past, its goals have never wavered. This is connected to the inheritance of Japanese culture. It is very important to build good relationships with others. If the relationship is hostile, there is nothing good about it. You can understand if you imagine it. It's more fun to get along well with everyone, not just your family, school, or company, right? Not only does having a bad relationship make you feel unpleasant, but various problems also arise, causing trouble for yourself. I think about the wisdom needed to build and maintain good relationships with others and pass it on to future generations. This is a repetition of that. Education, especially in early childhood, is important. Much of it comes from parents, but it is also provided by siblings, grandparents, relatives, and at school. You will be warned about actions you must not take, not only by neighbors but also by adults who have no connection to you at all. It is a state where people across the country are mutually monitoring each other. Children, in particular, are observed very carefully. This is so that they can be helped immediately in case of an accident. Given this situation, it is not particularly dangerous for a child to go out alone. Rather, it is an action necessary for independence. Early childhood education. In Japan, there is a saying, a child's soul remains until 100 years old. It is the idea that the habits, ways of thinking, and quirks formed by around the age of 3 shape one's personality, and that this never changes throughout life. Early childhood education up to around the age of 3 determines a child's life, so it means that one must provide proper education at least until around 3 years old. First, do not cause trouble. This is the minimum requirement. If you can't do this, you won't be recognized as a person. Anyone would feel unpleasant if they were caused trouble, and it is natural to feel disgust towards the person who caused the trouble. From a young age, one is strictly taught here to not cause trouble for others and not do things that would annoy others. Do not litter in the city, do not dirty the places you visit or stay, and follow the rules of the places you visit. These are natural behaviors. The reason trains run on time is that the most important thing is to avoid causing inconvenience to passengers. If you are late for work, hourly workers will incur a loss of wages, and there are times when you are forced to use paid leave. Furthermore, being late for meetings or classes will not only inconvenience the user, but also those related to the user. In recent years, Transfer apps are also being used, and if one train is delayed, the planned transfer cannot be made. Railway companies are no exception and provide services from the perspective of users, aiming to operate trains as accurately as possible. Next, not making the other person uncomfortable is also important. This applies to both words and actions. If you make someone uncomfortable, they will feel bad. If you want to build and maintain a good relationship, you need to avoid it. Children are strictly taught from a young age to consider the feelings of others. If you say it like this, how will the other person feel? If something like this is done, how will the other person think of me? For this reason, Japanese people tend to speak and act after considering the other person. As a result, Japanese people have become slower to respond and tend to use more ambiguous expressions. Furthermore, considering the situation at hand and the thoughts of others is what is meant by reading the air. Japanese people take action after reading the air, not placing additional orders when everyone at the bar seems like they want to leave. Changing the topic if the conversation between the two companions seems likely to become hostile, and so on. Recently, a story became famous about Japanese people who, sensing the atmosphere, cheered for Kazakhstani athletes at the Olympics figure skating event when there was no support for them due to political reasons. Up to this point, it is about avoiding negative impressions, but next is the education to make them have a positive impression. Behaving in a way that pleases others also starts from early childhood education. If you serve your cooking to customers and they say delicious and are pleased, I think you will also feel happy. On the other hand, if a customer says this tastes bad, you will feel sad. It is the same with other types of craftsmanship. Separately from earning income, I think it makes me happier if users feel I'm glad I bought this. The same applies to customer service. The most important thing is to make customers feel comfortable and pleasant without feeling uncomfortable. Japanese people do not consider work to be merely the minimum labor to earn money. In all industries, including agriculture and construction, Japanese people continuously make efforts to improve. This is the quality of Japan. Work is an activity to earn money, but people in each occupation share a common goal, for the sake of the customer's smile. Even if I never meet the other person again, I know that their happiness is connected to my own happiness. The reverse is also true. Help people who are in trouble. This has also been strictly taught since childhood. For this reason, helping people in trouble is natural for Japanese people. The act of giving up your seat when an elderly person gets on a train or bus. The act of carrying someone's luggage when they seem to be struggling to go up the stairs with a heavy load. The act of guiding someone to their destination if they are lost on the street. These are natural things for Japanese people, so the person who helped does not think, I helped, and it is not something to be particularly proud of. It is a natural act as a human being. Japanese people try to help when they see someone who seems to be in trouble. If they abandon someone who is struggling, Japanese people actually feel that it is inhuman. This applies to both themselves and others. Accompanying this education are the gods. There is no particular god in question. They are gods in a broad sense. It is common to educate children by saying things like, God is always watching, or you will be punished by God. It's used in the same way as ghosts, like the wasteful ghost. Even after becoming adults, Japanese people are aware of these ways of thinking as a mindset. The only people who truly believe that there are gods are Shinto priests at shrines. As a result, we try to make sure not to do bad things. I think crime is relatively low from a global perspective. If a child sees an adult ignoring a traffic signal, they may learn that it is okay to ignore traffic signals. That child might get into an accident because of their own actions. When you think about it that way, you don't run red lights, do you? In Japan, the idea that adults should be a mirror for children is also well established. You should avoid doing things that are bad if children imitate them, even in front of children. Adults are also watching, passing each other. Foreigners often say that it is strange how Japanese people can pass through a crowd without bumping into anyone. As a Japanese person, it is more strange to actually bump into someone. Of course, mammals and birds, and even fish and insects, do not collide when passing by each other. It is a basic ability as living creatures. Furthermore, conflicts that occur afterwards will never lead to disputes. If such things happen frequently, the species would drive itself to extinction. Unless both parties have a strong intention to collide, or absolutely not avoid it, they will not collide. Think about the difference when the target is not a person. If the target were a motorcycle, a cow, a pillar, or a rock, you would avoid it, right? Why is it that you don't avoid it when the target is a person? This cannot be understood by Japanese people. I forgot the country, but it seems that a TV station conducted an experiment evaluating people's behavior after a collision by country, whether they apologize, get into an argument, etc. It seems that it was extremely difficult to clash with Japanese people at this time. It is natural because Japanese people tend to move out of the way of others. Unless you are being tackled, you can usually avoid them just by walking normally. It means that as long as even one of the two people passing by has the intention to avoid each other, a collision will not occur. Japanese people do not inherently possess special abilities. From the above, Japan's public safety is relatively good, but it does not mean that there are no people with bad manners or those who commit crimes. Japan also has police and prisons. Please be careful not to overestimate them. It is said that Japanese people process environmental sounds differently from foreigners. Japanese people analyze and process environmental sounds with the left brain, but it seems that foreigners discard them as noise with the right brain. Specifically, sounds such as the sound of a river flowing, the cries of cicadas, the sound of a train passing over the rail joints, and the sound of turning a book's pages. Japan settled in isolated, closed spaces, and agriculture and fishing were central. There are also very many natural disasters such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, typhoons, and floods. There is only one type of venomous snake living in Japan, but the world's largest, hornets, as well as beasts that attack people such as wolves and bears, were also nearby. It is not humans who cause harm to oneself, but rather the environment, such as nature and animals. That accounts for most of it. You can also identify the presence and location of hunting targets by distinguishing the sounds of birds and beasts. You become sensitive to changes in the environment. Since the environment also affects one's life and death, it is extremely important to understand environmental sounds in order to detect changes in the environment. I think it is basically common worldwide, but it seems that Japan is the only country where the way of dealing with the environment has not changed like it used to. However, even among Japanese people, it seems that as modernization progresses, more people are processing environmental sounds as noise. Ambient sounds are also a form of information conveyed to others, and this greatly influences the Japanese language. The beginning of words is to alert to danger. The Japanese language. The purpose of words is to convey something to others. In the case of a military messenger, the goal is to reliably convey the minimum necessary information. So the content is also simple. On the other hand, it is different in everyday conversation. There are a lot of things you want to convey, such as your own emotions, the situation you are in, and your feelings for the other person. However, if you put all of this information into words, it becomes very long. For this reason, one of the characteristics of the Japanese language is that it has created a wide variety of words to shorten sentences. To shorten sentences, words that can be inferred from the situation or context are omitted. Foreigners say there is no subject, but it is omitted because it is unnecessary. Even foreigners use omissions. When a parent asks their child, "What do you want to eat?" the child responds, "Ice cream." There is no subject. Also, environmental sounds introduced in the hearing section are often conveyed using onomatopoeia. For this reason, there is an incredible number of onomatopoeia alone, and it continues to increase daily. To some extent, it is possible to have a conversation using only onomatopoeia. In Japanese, accents are not emphasized extremely. The overall tone is the same, and it is spoken with a steady rhythm without emphasizing any part. Therefore, you can immediately tell whether someone is a foreigner who came to Japan or a foreigner who was born and raised in Japan by the way they speak. Emotional fluctuations are reflected in the emphasis of words, and there are many emotions close to anger. For this reason, Japanese people speak in a way that does not emphasize any particular part. I think the reason foreigners find the Japanese spoken by Japanese people beautiful is around here. Japanese is difficult to read as well. Even Japanese people encounter characters they cannot read. The handwriting of people called skilled calligraphers is almost unreadable. The text also contains a mix of hiragana, katakana, and kanji, and alphabets appear there as well. If you learn how to distinguish the usage of characters, it is much easier to understand than if everything is written in just one type of character. Also, there are people who write characters in a stylized or distorted way. So many handwritten menus are unreadable, and translation apps do not work either. I think it's just right for foreigners to only memorize phrases that are used often. Even for Japanese people, mastering them is difficult. Finally, a mysterious story. In Japan, there have long existed characters called jindaimoji. Various characters exist in different regions across the country. From the historical context and the composition of the characters, it doesn't feel that old. But since there are various theories, I think it would be interesting to look into it. You line up when you are waiting for something, such as when getting on a train or buying bread. Since you are waiting, there will be waiting time. People who arrive early and wait spend more time than those who come later. Of course, since you are wasting more time than the person behind you, you are at a loss compared to them. Time is money. It is the reasoning that you spend time as a price to gain the right to board the train earlier than those behind you and to buy things faster. Time is the price for obtaining rights. For this reason, if someone cuts in line ahead of you, it causes a loss. Also, acts of obtaining rights without compensation are the same as stealing, and to Japanese people, it feels close to a crime. All the people who were standing behind the point where someone cut in line will waste additional time, and everyone in line will not tolerate such behavior. So in Japan, when waiting for something, it is natural to line up in order and not cut in line. This is not even a rule or etiquette. It is simply obvious. The reason for lining up is to avoid causing trouble. If people weave or spread out, it obstructs passage and becomes a nuisance to passers-by. Since making noise is also a nuisance, I do not make noise in public places. On trains, because there are people sleeping, I also lower the volume of my headphones so that sound does not leak outside. In Japan, even children around 4 years old understand and carry out these things. It is the result of early childhood education. Dietary habits. In Japan, before eating, people put their hands together, bow, and say itadakimasu before they eat. This is about receiving the lives of plants and animals, and it is not only gratitude for the ingredients, but also gratitude for the person who cooked, the person who provided them, and the person who created this setting. After finishing a meal, we similarly say gochisu-sama. Chisu means running around, and it was originally a way to thank the person who ran around to gather the ingredients, but nowadays it is used in the same way as itadakamasu. Also, before eating at home or in school meals, we wash our hands. This is to prevent dirt on our hands from entering the body through the mouth during eating. In a restaurant, even if you wash your hands, it is difficult to return to your seat without getting them dirty, so wet towels are provided to clean your hands with. Oshibori are not meant for wiping your hands or mouth after finishing a meal. There are some restaurants where oshibori are taken away when the meal is served. In recent years, there are 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Breakfast is light, lunch is either a bento, school lunch, cafeteria meal, or company cafeteria meal, and dinner is usually eaten at home. In the past, breakfast was the main meal. So, when it came to eating out with my family, it was dinner. In the past, it was about once a month, but I think the frequency has increased recently. Nowadays, there is also delivery. When it comes to Japanese food, it's all about rice. We even developed a machine to measure the deliciousness of rice in order to blend it. Rice and meat, rice and fish, rice and vegetables, rice and mushrooms, rice and miso soup. Everything is eaten together with rice. Udon made from wheat flour has been around for a long time, but the purpose was to keep warm, and also because it was cheap. Other wheat flour dishes are recent. In the first place, wheat flour began to be used in various things after imports from the United States became substantial. Ramen comes from China, pasta from Italy, and takoyaki and okonomiyaki are relatively new Japanese dishes. I think the variety of dishes you can eat in Japan is probably the largest in the world. Chefs all over Japan continue to develop dishes based on cuisines from around the world. There is no perfect form in cooking. With further ingenuity, there is an infinite possibility to make it even more delicious. Tradition in Japan does not mean not changing the methods or materials, but rather inheriting and evolving them. I'm not sure if it starts from the spirit of wasting is a shame, but I get the impression that Japanese people do quite reckless cooking. Raw eggs and raw fish are well known, but the ultimate is fugu, pufferfish. Japanese people not only select the parts of pufferfish that are non-toxic, but they have also devised techniques to remove the poison from the highly toxic parts and eat them. It's persistence, isn't it?